That's Debarge in Rhythm of the Night. We've got some David Guetta on the way, also the Sugar Babes. But more important than any of that, I'm joined by my studio guest, Carol M. Creasy, local author, who has written a book called Sir Lewis Hamilton's Final Lap with Mercedes 2024. Good morning to you, Carol.
Good morning, Jonathan.
Thank you very much for coming in and seeing us. Now, first question about this. Why? I mean, we've had you in a few times and you've done books often based locally, murder mysteries, romances, and here we are in the world of Formula One writing a biography. This seems a bit of a departure. Why that?
Well, yes, it's not exactly a biography. As I say, what happened is 5 years ago, there's a website, an unofficial website for Mercedes Petronas, of which Lewis was a member, obviously, and they invited people to write a guest column. So I just did it really for a bit of fun. And then the chap that owned the actual website came back to me and said, would you like to write for us on a regular basis of, every time he does a race, a summary of it and all the rest of it. So I thought, why not? So I've been doing that for the last, 5 years. And then when Lewis announced last year that he was going to leave Mercedes the next year in 2025 and go to Ferrari, a lot of the fans had been following my blogs, and one or two of them said to me, wouldn't it be nice to have it all in a book? So then I decided, why not? So anyway, obviously we had to approach the management and get permission from them. You wouldn't do something like that without asking them.
When you say the management
Lewis Hamilton's management,
right.
Yes. And they said that as long as I said that it was an unofficial book, which it's actually got on the cover, and just inside the cover it also mentions it again, and I didn't use their logo, then I was free to write this book. So as I say, I've been writing it during last year until the season ended, which I think was about the 8th of December, and then got it into my publisher, and here it is. It's going to be published on the 14th of February.
So Lewis Hamilton's had a very long career and quite a long career with Mercedes, but this focuses on his final year with Mercedes.
That's right, yes.
And it's not been the most successful year in his career, it has to be said. Is that right?
That's right. There's been a lot of ups and downs last year, which again, it's a good thing to record in the book because he has been such an iconic driver for so long. But I think that mentally it affected him by telling the team at the beginning of the year that he was going to another team where drivers normally announce it at the end of the season. I think it had an effect on him last year, mentally, and it was very hard for him. So there's obviously some very happy moments when he won the British Grand Prix that is mentioned in the book, and then there's other moments of despair when things go wrong, and it's just generally a story of how he felt last year.
And do you think it had an effect on his status in the team? Because anybody who's been in an office environment, and if a senior manager says, well, I'm leaving, then effectively from that point on, whether they're there or not, they're kind of bypassed because, well, what's the point in involving them in this process?
Yeah, I
anymore?
mean, I don't want to say anything against Mercedes because they've been a wonderful team and they've achieved wonderful things together, but it's only human nature that they knew that George Russell would be leading the team next year and Lewis would be elsewhere. So I feel that they concentrated their car development more on George and his style of driving, I won't say sidelined Lewis, but I know that Lewis did find it hard, and he said that he found it hard to qualify last year. And he's always been the best qualifier ever because he's got, I think, 104 pole positions, during his career, but he didn't get any at all last year.
Now, you didn't just stumble into writing a blog because you just fancied writing something. You are a Formula One fan yourself, aren't you?
Oh, yes.
So what makes Lewis Hamilton special for you?
Well, he's more than a driver. He's not afraid to speak out, and I've put all this in the book about things that he believes need correcting. I can't say the word inclusivity, and everybody being treated the same, no matter what colour their skin is, because he's a mixed race person himself. When he first came into Formula One, there was a lot of bias against him, because of his skin colour. And people from, underrepresentative backgrounds that may be poor, because again, he's the only driver on the grid that came from a poor family. All the others it costs a lot of money to go into Formula One. And obviously all the other drivers have come from rich families, but Lewis's father had to, I think he had 4 jobs just to support Lewis in the beginning so that he could actually be in Formula One. It's a tremendous thing, and Lewis never ever stopped thanking his father for that support that he's given him, because he said, I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for my father.
We'll talk a bit further about Lewis Hamilton and your book and what the future has in store for you and for Lewis. But in the meantime, we'll take a break for some music. This one is David Guetta and Let's Love.
Playing across the bay and beyond on FM and online. We are Cabin FM.
It's Cabin FM's morning show. We've got the Sugar Babes on the way, but we're still talking with author Carol M. Creasy about her book, Sir Lewis Hamilton's Final Lap with Mercedes 2024. We've talked a lot about Sir Lewis and what he's been up to with Mercedes, but of course he's moving on, isn't he?
Yes, he's joining Ferrari. Well, he has actually already joined them, but they don't start competing until the middle of March.
So is he their number one driver? Because forgive me for being ignorant, but
no,
who's in the team?
Lewis has never asked to be a number one. He always has equal status. I mean, he's been treated as a number one because he wins the championships, but he's always had equal status with his teammate. But if they get to a certain point in the championship where it's obvious that he's so many points ahead that the other one wouldn't be able to win anyway, then they might sort of give team orders on a particular race and say, let Lewis overtake for this one because you can't win it anyway because you're too far away.
Now, not being a particularly heavy-duty follower of Formula One, you can put me right on this, but he is quite well known for being a very assertive, confident driver. He would go places that other drivers wouldn't try to go on a race, won't he?
Yeah, he always says, if there's a gap there, I'm going for it. And yes.
And it's got him into trouble on a few occasions, hasn't
yes,
it? Not necessarily physical trouble, but with the authorities who are running the races as well.
Yeah. Oh, in the past, yes, yeah. I think his idol is Ayrton Senna, and wasn't there something he always used to say, if I no longer go for a gap, I'm no longer a driver. And Lewis has got the same outlook.
And you're a fan of Lewis, not just because of what he does on the track, but he does a lot of work off the track as well, doesn't he?
He's also a fashion designer, and he supports the young black fashion designers that nobody has shown any great interest in by wearing some of their clothes to and from the track. He has been ridiculed by trolls and other people for doing that, but the reason behind that is to advertise them for people who might be struggling to make a name for themselves and that sort of thing. He's involved in all sorts of things. He's involved in music. He's also produced a film which is coming out. I don't know the title of it, but it's coming out this year. And that's about a Formula One driver who retires and then comes back and tries to win again. Brad Pitt is in it.
Wow, look at bang. There's a bit of casting you can call on for a few bucks, isn't there?
Yeah.
I mean, because there's been a few films around set in the world of motor racing. There was one recently that concerned the feud between James Hunt and you can tell me who else? Who was
yeah, Niki Lauda.
Niki Lauda, yes.
Yeah.
That was great fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, oh yeah, we saw that, didn't we? I can't remember the name of it.
And then going way back, there was... Yeah, there was James Garner, wasn't there, as well, in Grand Prix way back in the 60s, I think that was.
I didn't see that one.
That's a very old one. But it's just a filmic kind of thing. It's fast, noisy, and there's always the potential for a big accident as well.
Yes, yeah.
So makes for a great film. Where does Sir Lewis Hamilton sit in terms of his age now to be carrying on doing racing? Because he's getting older than a lot of the others.
Yeah, he became 40 in January.
And
but he's a very fit 40. They actually did a test on driver reaction at the start of a race, the top 10 of quickness of reaction, and he was number one.
Because although you think of it as just a sitting down kind of sport, you have to be really physically fit. And as anybody who's even driven around the M25 will know, that if you go round a racetrack for like 63 times, your brain's going to just switch out and not know where you are. I'm sure it must take a huge amount of effort to concentrate and stay right on it all that time without just going into some sort of dangerous autopilot.
Absolutely, yeah.
And of course, these days with the coverage, you can sit in the cockpit and see what they're up to. And it's just relentless, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
So, any particular races you're looking forward to? And are you going to any of the races this coming season?
Stop nodding your head, Keith. I don't know yet. I'd love to go to the British Grand Prix, and out of all the races, I'd love him to win it, because when he won it last year, it was absolutely, nobody expected it. He was in, I think, the third fastest car, and nobody expected him to win it.
And he wasn't pole position, of course, because you said he didn't get any poles.
No, he was second, actually, but even so, it just wasn't expected, because the pace of the car is not as good as the other ones. Unfortunately, since the regulations changed, Mercedes car, they've struggled with it. They've really struggled with it, and they haven't been. And it's a car that it'll go well one week, and they think, oh, we've cracked it, and then the next week it's got no pace. And at the moment, they can't discover why that is. And Lewis has literally, over the last 3 years, he's been helping them to try and remedy it, without success, And I feel that with Ferrari, he thought that this is my last chance to get that 8th championship, because I'm coming up for 40.
Right, and he thought that was the car that was most likely to help as well.
I think so, yeah.
So let's wrap up by telling people about where they can find copies of the book, which is published on Friday, Valentine's Day.
Friday the 14th, yes. It can be bought from Amazon. And it can be ordered from any good bookshop, but if they go over to Westgate Galleria in Westgate, they can buy it off the shelf there as well.
Lovely. Look, all success with that. And have you got another book in the offing? Surely you have. You've always got one on the go.
I might be doing another murder mystery later this year.
Right, we'll look forward to hearing about that. That is Carol M. Creasy's Sir Lewis Hamilton's final lap with Mercedes 2024. So if you want to go and get your hold of that, you know what to do. Thanks for coming in, Carol.
Thank you very much for having me.
We'll see you in for the next book. Up to the break now with Get Sexy from the Sugar Babes.
Herne Bay gets its kicks on 94.6.